I want to start our recording. Hello, everyone. This is the Goldmiind call. I forgot to record the beginning of it. So this is the Goldmiind call for RX for the 16th of May, 2016. I'm your trainer tonight. Robert Allen's the name, best-selling author of these books. As I was just explaining before to the group, before I pushed the record button, you know, every vehicle you want to drive to success, anywhere you want to go. If you want to be a biologist, you have to learn how to be a biologist. If you want to be an attorney, you have to learn how to be an attorney. If you want to learn how to be a log jammer, or a gymnast, anything you do requires training in that particular thing, and that's what I call vehicle knowledge. It means you got to get in that vehicle, learn how to drive it, and drive towards what you want. And many people who've figured out what they want can drive toward what they want because they just learn how to do it. So in our case here, we're building a business together. We're learning how to become marketers. We're learning how to find a product we love, and we're sharing it with people. And there are certain skills for learning how to do that. How do you invite somebody? How do you train them? How do you teach them, etc.? But sometimes, even after you teach them what to do, they have difficulty doing it because of mindset, because they can't imagine themselves doing it, or because they have fear that gets in the way, or they have a beliefs about the industry that they can't overcome, or they have questions that they can't get answered. So the first part of our conversation tonight is just this comment that unanswered questions are speed bumps on your road to success. And if you have lots of speed bumps, you know what that's like, going through a parking lot, and every 10 feet there's a speed bump. It's frustrating, and it slows you down. That's the purpose of a speed bump, to slow you down. And speed bumps cause you to slow down, to hesitate. And if you have lots of speed bumps on your way, lots of questions have been unanswered, it slows you down. And obviously, anyone who joins our company, the first major goal that we give every one of us is to find 4 customers in the first 8 weeks. And that's at a time when you have least likely will have the skills necessary or the knowledge necessary to find and invite people, to enroll them and get them started. This first 2 months, the first 4 people you enroll, may be the hardest thing you'll ever do in RX. And it comes at the least convenient time, when you have the least amount of knowledge, the highest amount of fear, the least amount of or the most amount of doubt, the most amount of questions. And yet, some people just do it anyway. They figure out how to find those 4 customers in their first 2 months. But many others don't. And I'm going to try to show you the difference between someone who just goes and does it. They just figure it out. They just know they want to. They know the product's great. They love maybe their upline is helping them. Maybe they need to make some money, and they've got to figure it out. And so, since the mortgage payment is due next month, they just do whatever it takes. And somehow or other, that mindset, that whatever it takes mindset, most people don't have. They have, well, as soon as I learn how to mindset, or as soon as I overcome this fear of rejection mindset, or as soon as I figure out how to do this, or as soon as I'm properly trained, then I'll go do it. And usually that slows everything down. It puts speed bumps along the process. And therefore, you know, the company has given at the very beginning this designation they call the gold designation. If you can do the hardest thing, which is enrolling 4 customers in the first 2 months, if you can do that in 2 months, must be something special about you. Either you're good with people and you've built up relationships with people for a long period of time, so you can call up on the phone and you can say to your friend, hey friend, just got started in something I'm pretty excited about. Got to tell you about it. I think it's a winner. You've been with me before. You've seen that I don't make mistakes very often. Let's go. give me your credit card. Let's get started. And some people have that kind of relationship with people. Most don't, but some people do. Or you have a sister or a mother or some relative, some coworker who just says, who is ready to roll, and therefore during this first 2 months, it's just time for you to go enroll people. And somehow or other, a few, I don't know what percentage, I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to say 1 in 5 really is so motivated, so focused, so dedicated, so fearless, that even with, shall I tell you what people call it in our industry? They call it ignorance on fire. They are so passionate. They're so excited. They have no clue what they're doing. They really don't know how the compensation plan works. They really don't know much about the products, but they just run off and they get it done. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, if you're ignorance on fire, it means that maybe you're doing things incorrectly, but somehow or other, maybe 1 in 5, they just go and enroll those 4 people and they just get it done. It's either because they know people and they've got a good relationship with people, or they know themselves. They've got a good relationship with themselves. They know they just got to do what they got to do, and they just go do it. And they have a deadline. And that 2-month deadline is powerful. I don't know if you really realize that deadlines are extremely motivated to most people. When they know the deadline is coming up, they end up doing things that they would not normally do if there was no deadline. So adding a deadline 2 months into the launching of your business is a smart thing to do, but it's the most difficult thing for a new person to do. And somehow or other, they have to have the mindset to just do whatever it takes, regardless of what people say. And some people are like that. They're just do whatever it takes people. You know, they're make it happen people, I call them. They just make it happen. I don't know, are you a make it happen person? I'm a make it happen person. I obviously enrolled my first 4 when I got started, but I had a little bit of head start. I knew a little earlier than you did when the company was going to get started. I had some different kinds of incentives. The bottom line is I made it happen. I just did it. And some people make it happen. I just got back from Taiwan, where a small little group of team members in Taiwan are just making it happen. They're gathering together as a team, and they're using both sides of what the equation I just talked about. There's the how do you drive this car, and then there's the people skills, and then there's the personal growth skills. And so since they are in a team and they kind of supporting and motivating each other, and they have some kind of smart big thinkers in the group, boy, this is just magic. And people are just making a decision to support each other and to help each other. But what if you have been enrolled by somebody and now you're what they call an orphan, and they don't have any support from upline. They don't have any support from family and friends. They probably all think you lost your mind somehow. You know, you're crazy for doing this. And so what if you're all alone and nobody's there to support you? And you can go online. You could go to rx.com and you could click in the back office. You have your passcodes, etc. You could watch the boss video, which teaches you exactly how to drive this vehicle. But there's very little in the boss. There's some, but very little about how do you drive this vehicle? How do you drive your brain? How do you get it done? How do you organize your thinking so clearly that nothing stops you? Well, there are 4 skills that I teach. And over this next 4 weeks, I'm going to teach you these 4 skills. And I'll teach them after we finish this 4-week cycle. I'm going to do it again. And after we teach the 4 skills, I'm going to do it again. In other words, these same 4 skills we've taught over and over and over again, because I think if you took every book that has ever been written on success, and there are hundreds of thousands of them, and people have different philosophies and different techniques, different strategies, different big pictures. When you boil them all down to the essence that's in every success book that's ever been written, you're going to boil it down to just a handful of principles. And I don't need to read 10,000 books to be able to understand how to make this thing work. I need only, well, be on these calls. Let me teach you what I believe. Of course, this is my belief. I think it's accurate. What do you need to get started? You know. Well, by the way, before we go any further, you have the ability on our call here today, either if you're listening on the phone, fine. I've just showed you a PowerPoint that I'm actually going through. I will try to describe it so if you're on the phone, you can understand what I'm saying. But the question I asked in the PowerPoint was, what question slows you down? I want you to ponder that question right now. Some of you are making it happen people, and you just go get the answer. But some of you hold back. What causes you to slow down, to hesitate, to think about it? To be less than committed. Okay? That's the question I want to ask you. I'm going to actually give you a few seconds to ponder it and to actually write down a question that if you had the answer to, would immediately launch you forward on this business. If you had the answer, it might be a complicated answer. It might be a several hour conversation to answer that one question. But if you could get that one question answered, that you would be unleashed. Now, the motto for our company is unleashing the human potential for good. And so I'm asking you, what answer to what question would be unleashing to you, where you would go, oh, got the answer, and then you just walk out the door and you start doing it. I'm going to ask you to answer that question. Actually, write down a question right now. If it could be answered, would speed you up. How about that? If you have a couple of questions, I want you to write those down too. Somehow or other, I've drawn some. Oh, I know I did. I was drawing on the PowerPoints here using the Zoom technology. So there's going to be some marks in the bottom left-hand corner that I'm not 100% sure how to erase. So I'm just. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can figure out how to erase them. Why not? Why not? Let's see. There's the eraser. Let's see if I can erase it. Ha! Okay, I did it. Okay. All right, so back again. That gives you some more time to answer some questions. The first skill, in my opinion, is clarity. It's answering those questions. It's answering some basic questions about your ultimate goal. Most people, when they think about their life, they got a frowny face. They're thinking, "Oh, things aren't going as well as I hoped. I might be a positive person, but there's some challenges I'm dealing with." They're pretty clear about that, and they're clear about their feelings about that. They're clear about the overwhelm that they feel. They're clear about the doubts that they have, maybe the fears that they have. The smiley face is a lifestyle that I'm going to challenge you to decide to live. I mean, somewhere between now and maybe 5 years from now, could be earlier. I want you to be living your ideal lifestyle. Now, the very first thing that people usually do when they are ignorance on fire, and they rush out to try to sponsor people and they bring them onto their team, they the very first thing that most amateurs do is they start talking about the incredible products and this credible opportunity and how excited they are about this fantastic thing. And that does work. You know, ignorance on fire means if you are passionate about something and your friends can they can capture this enthusiasm that you feel, sometimes that's infectious and people go, what is it? Tell me about it. I'm in, and that definitely does work because many people use only that to get started in this business that we do together. But most people are a little more doubtful than that, and they're really inside their body. They understand what it feels like to feel pressure, financial pressure, maybe some relationship challenges, maybe some health challenges, maybe some time challenges, maybe a job issue, and all the things they've got to do on their to-do list. Most people got a frowny face, and I describe it this way as a silly, simple way of describing where people are. And where I want people to go, and I think where they want to go, is they want to go to a better life. They want a life in all five senses. Most people have a box in them. They're in a prison. Now, I've discussed this with you before. If you've been watching all these calls over the last several months, we've had this conversation a couple times. Same kind of skill. But a skill means to learn it so well that you can do it in your sleep. So if I put you on a blank piece of paper and had you draw a smiley face and a frowny face, could you do it? And if you could, would you draw some walls around that frowny face and to represent the limited lifestyle that most people are in? And then the dream house lifestyle, that's a simple dream home that represents the four things that people are usually looking for. They're usually looking for more money. They're usually looking for more love or more friends, more relationships, better relationships. Or they're looking for better health, better energy, better clarity in their mind. Or they're looking for free time so they can do what they want to do without being pressured by the boss or somebody else to do it. And these four fundamental basic things are what people are generally looking for. Now, when you rush up to them and start saying, I got this opportunity I'm so excited about, if you start rushing into your dreams, what your plans are, oftentimes, if a person who is especially a little more hesitant, they're going to go, well, what does this have to do with me? What am I going to have to do? How am I going to get involved in this? And usually you're talking to them when you're in your smiley face mood, you're talking to somebody who is in a frowny face mood because they don't have a solution. You've discovered a solution. You've decided you're going to go for the smiley face life, but they have have given up on a smiley face life. Maybe they've decided that life is just going to be a slog for the next 30 or 40 years and then you die, and that can be the way many people think about life. And so your moods are totally disconnected. You're excited because you probably are excited because you probably learned something that you really are passionate about. You have an opportunity you're really thrilled about, and yet they're not excited. And sometimes even talking in an excited mood to someone who is in a frowny face life is actually offensive to some. I'm not saying it's offensive to everybody, because obviously sometimes ignorance on fire, which is you in the smiley face box, ignorance on fire works. But sometimes it doesn't, is what I'm trying to say. And when it doesn't work, it's when this person on the frowny face life needs to find out what their dreams are before they are excited about your dreams. And I'm giving you different ways of approaching people here today because, as I said, ignorance on fire sometimes works. Your passion can be fantastic. But most of the time, there is some more warming up to do. There's some more befriending before you, quote unquote, talk to them about this opportunity that you're going to benefit from. They will too, but it's a self-interest on your part. You want them to sign up because you want them to be part of your team. And yes, you might have the best hopes and dreams for them, and you realize this is an opportunity for them, but it is also for you. So therefore, because of that, the befriending part is important. And so sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, rather than me launching into this multiple streams of income opportunity that I just stumbled into, sometimes I want to find out where they are first. I want to qualify them in a sense. Not qualify them, can they afford it? But qualifying them and to find out if they really are the kind of person that I want to have on my team. And can I do any good for them? And so sometimes you just simply draw a frowny face in your conversation. Maybe you're at Starbucks and you're having a coffee or something, and you just flip open one of the napkins at Starbucks and you just draw a little frowny face in the bottom right-hand corner, and you draw a smiley face in the top right-hand corner, and you say, most people are down here in life, and I've decided I want to be up here. I want to be living the ideal lifestyle. And I don't know about you. I don't know where you're at. Maybe you've already figured out how to get where you've always wanted to go. But I was just curious, where are you? If we could wave a magic wand and instantly you could add 3 things to your life, what would you add? And you literally draw a plus sign and some 3 lines, and you go, what would you add? And then as they discuss that with you, you might circle one of the other symbols. You might say, you want some more love? That's great, super. You got your relationship's not working out. That'd be great we could figure out how that could be better. You want some more health? Oh, good. In other words, you're trying to discover what it is they want. And as in all of persuasion, in the industry of selling, there's something called consultative selling. To be a consultative salesperson is to be a person who's a consultant. And essentially, basically saying, tell me, what is it you want? What don't you want? And let me guide you on how to get that without trying to sell them on your particular solution. You're just basically trying to find out what they want, what they don't want. The minus sign represents, well, tell me what you don't want. If we could wave a magic wand and instantly 3 things could be gone from your life, what would you want to remove? And this simple conversation, what I'm teaching you is that it takes them outside of their box. Essentially, it causes them to lift outside of the box that they're feeling the pressure on and float up above it and actually take a peek into the future. And the word we use here is imagination. It's one of the most persuasive words I can teach you. When you get a person to imagine what the future is like and to ponder it, to think about it, to hope for it possibly, to actually put a deadline on it. Like, what if we could do this in 5 years or less? What's an ideal lifestyle for you? And once again, you're back to the consultant mode. You're not going to immediately say, well, ARX is going to solve all your problems. In my opinion, it will. But it may not be what they want to do. And when I was first approached, with a network marketing solution as a #1 New York Times bestselling author, I thought it was a silly business. I wanted nothing to do with it. I hadn't heard a lot of good about it. And therefore, I immediately said no. Now, was I in a box like that when my secretary, that's who first introduced me to this, told me about that? Well, in a sense, I kind of was. My health wasn't very good. I was on my way to diabetes, hadn't yet been diagnosed, but I certainly wished I had been a little smarter with my health. There's no doubt about that. My relationship with my wife was good. We'd been married for 20 plus years. We're now into our 39th year of marriage, but it's gotten a lot better, frankly, to tell you the truth. I didn't have a lot of free time. I was pressured with some challenges that I was going through. My business had some major problems, and the opportunity for network marketing for the #1 New York Times bestselling author was a perfect opportunity at the exact right time for me, and yet I would not have anything to do with it. I wasn't listening. Thank heaven my wife was listening, and although we were both in our little limited box of some challenges we were going through at that time, she decided to listen to her intuition and I didn't. And therefore she launched a network marketing business with the goal that it was the money that she would earn to put it into her own bank account. And that was my agreement with her. The money could all be hers if she wanted to build it, but I wanted nothing to do with it. When she started building that business, she started taking us toward the ideal lifestyle. And it took me a while before I got out of that box, before I could see above the fears and the silly, limited beliefs I had about network marketing. They were silly. They were lies that had been spread by I don't know who. There is a lot of misinformation going on about network marketing, and I certainly bought into it, having never experienced it before, having never known anybody who was successful at it before. I made this crazy decision that that it's something that I didn't want to do. It was stupid on my part. And I now look back as looking at it as it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Thank you. But everyone you talk to is going to fit into, wow, this is exciting, tell me more. Or they're going to be like me on the opposite end of the scale, like, not interested. Don't talk about that to me, right? Even though I needed it, my family needed it, I was stubborn, and it took several months. So when you get a no from somebody, that doesn't mean no. It means that's the first contact. And you're going to obviously talk to, 2 or 3 people a day on this process. Over a month, you'll talk to 100 people, and you're going to get no's wide. In other words, people will say, no, not interested. No, that's not something that interests. No, nah, don't need that. No, you'll be like Bob. And you'll talk to 100 people and you get 100 wide no's, meaning, nope, 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 nope. You're going to get some yeses. You talk to 100 people, I guarantee you're going to get some yeses. You're going to get somebody who goes, oh, that product, I need that product right now. It's a godsend. How did you know I was on my knees this morning praying for this? Or you'll get somebody who says, man, I just lost my job, and if you talked to me about this 3 weeks ago, I would have blown you off. But now, hey, let's go for it. I need this, right? So obviously in 100 people that you discuss this with briefly, 2 or 3 are going to say yes, maybe more. But now we've got 100 people you've communicated with. You got what I call the wide nose. Now you have to what I call the deep nose, meaning you'll talk to a person next time you see them. How you doing? You're not going to be pushy. You're not going to say, hey, that RX thing, that could be really cool for you. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to give them something when you see them the next time. Maybe give them a product. That's absolutely works. It's expensive because you got to give products away, but samples. Have you ever received a sample of something, and was that sample that overcame your frustration and your negativity, and you well, thank you, and you tried it and you liked it? So sometimes that's where we get the deep no's, until you get a yes. Maybe try a sample, maybe just share some information with them, maybe just befriend them, maybe help them with their business or with their opportunities. Or somebody put that on there. Is that you, Tom? Money and belief, and I don't know who did that. Who actually did that? I'd be interested to find out. Bottom line is, you talk to enough people wide, and you talk to enough of them deep, you're going to get some yeses, no doubt about it. And the best way I found to have people warm up is to find out what they want and find out what they don't want, and to be a consultant and say, let me help you. And then they might ask you, well, what do you do? What do you do? And you'll say, well, oh, well, thank you, Iris. I appreciate that. I didn't know you could control my PowerPoint. This is excellent. I lost my train of thought there. Bottom line is, what you're trying to do is to get a person to understand what they want and what they don't want. And this is called clarity. The more clear they are on that, the more the speed bump lowers and it gets flat ground. It's like, let's go find something can help that dream happen. Back in a frowny face life, they've got lots of questions. How am I going to make my monthly payment this month? How can I overcome this challenge I have with one of my children? The boss is mad at me. What am I going to do about that? They have all kinds of questions. And that's what this box is about. It's a questioning box. When you take them and out of that box and you ask them positive questions. How good do you want it? How much money would you like to be earning? Would you like some free time? And then you may ask them another question, which is, what's the vehicle that's going to get you there? There are a lot of ways to get you. You could work at your job for 50 years. Nah, don't want to do that. Well, what other option do you have? Are you pursuing something now? Maybe they are. Maybe they have some real estate investing going on, or maybe a little side business. Maybe they have an inheritance that they're planning on. I don't know. The bottom line is, the more you know about what they want and what they don't want, the better consultant you can be. And if you consult with them about how to solve that issue and how to get outside of that box, you get clarity on what to do to help them. Now, the same thing goes with you. Do you know where you want to be 5 years from now? Are you clear on the kind of lifestyle you want to live, the kind of health you want to have at that time? Are you clear on the free time that you expect to achieve, the relationships and how they are in your life, spiritually and emotionally, the people around you? Do you have a clear image of that? If you don't, do this exercise on yourself. What do I want? What do I really, really, really want? What's on my bucket list? And yet, you don't want it on your bucket list like before you die. You want it on your 5 years, 3 years, 2 years from now list, so you can live for the rest of your life doing what you want to do. So the whole world is your bucket. So anything in the world you can afford to do because you have the free time to do it. You want it to happen now. You don't want to do it when you're 60s and 70s, like the movie, The Bucket List. You don't want to wait that long. You want to have what you want. You want to get it as soon as possible. And you want to eliminate the things that are bugging you as soon as possible. So I'm going to challenge you to write this down every day. When you start your day, these are 3 things I want. These are 3 things I don't want. And why? Why do I want that? What's so important to me that I'm willing to get off my duff, climb over the walls of the prison that's holding me in, and start on my journey towards what I really want? Why is it so important that I'm willing to face the fears I know are going to come up, and the challenges and the difficulties? What's so important? And these are really profound questions. I made them simple, and they may sound even too simple for you. But I want them to be so simple that anybody you talk to who's 18 and above, who can qualify to be part of our business, anybody can remember that. They can remember, what do you want, what don't you want, and why. There's just 3 fundamental basic questions as you're consulting with somebody. And this is a fun way, doesn't have to be the only way, but this, in my opinion, is a fun way for you to make it visual for them. What happens when you do that? Well, you're separating where they are now from where they want to be. So now by just doing the separation, you're showing there is a distance they have to travel. When they got these things all in their head, all mixed up inside their head, the things they want, things they don't want, the things that they would love to do if they were given the time and the money to do it, the things that are driving them absolutely nuts, it's all inside the same brain. And it's a confusing mess. And sometimes the reason that a person can't get out of this confusion is because they can't clarify it enough to see it, you know? And there is a concept called the visual superiority effect, which is a very common sense thing you already understand, so do I, that a picture is worth 10,000 words. But in scientific languaging, this is the word they give to the science of the proof for that visual images are more memorable, visual superiority effect. They're more memorable. They are easy for you to explain. They're easier to understand. So I made this simple diagram on purpose, made it kindergarten simple, so that nowhere in the world will you be able to go and talk to somebody where you can't do a consultative, that's maybe a fancier $50 word description of what do you want, what don't you want, why. Putting it into a visual way for them to see it. And when they see it, it now starts to become more real to them. In a sense, what you've done is you've given them the key that's for the door to the prison they're in that's locked on the inside. You're saying, this is the key. The key is your dream is the key. If they have a clear dream, if their dream is, I call virtualized, I'll explain that in a minute, it unlocks, it takes away the walls or lowers the walls, makes them not quite so thick. It gives them a ladder so they can climb over, or a key for the door that's locked on the inside. In other words, when you get them to the top of the mountain where they're living their ideal lifestyle, if you really want to be even more persuasive, then ask them to experience what it feels like. And ask them, suppose you go to the mailbox and there's a check in there. And that check comes every Tuesday. Wow. You worked hard for a while to get it, but now you're not working. You don't have to work. Essentially, the money flows into your bank account. Yeah, it took you 5 years. It was hard. But now the money's in your bank account automatically. This is not the Social Security check, that little one. This is a big check. This is a check that takes your breath away every week. And you have to ask yourself the question, where in the world am I going to spend this kind of money? Right? What would it feel like? And I want you to get them to feel it, because this is, there's a book up in my library over here that's called Sell the Feeling. And you're not selling products. You're not selling nutritionals. You're not selling water bottles. You're not selling any of these products I have over here on my left shoulder. These are the products that our company has created and are fantastic. But in a sense, do you want to be really powerful is not the right word. Persuasive is almost too silly of a word. Do you want to be impactful? Do you want to have influence with somebody? Well, if they're in that box, surrounded by the fears that hold them back, it's very, very difficult. No wonder people say no. Like I was. The person who enrolled us didn't talk about our dreams, just said, hey, let's go make some money. Wouldn't that be kind of nice? These products are fantastic. She was ignorance on fire, no doubt about that. But I needed more, and I needed to figure out how I could get out of the box that I was in And if she had taken me to the future and maybe had me experience it a little bit. See, what were some of my fears? I didn't know anything about network marketing, and I just heard that it wasn't a legitimate business. Of course, this was 20 years ago, and it's certainly made some huge strides since. But back then, there were very few people like myself, #1 New York Times bestselling authors, who had recommended companies. There weren't a whole lot of doctors and lawyers who were recommending this kind of business because it was newer. And so I was afraid of what people would think. What will people think of me joining this little, maybe illegitimate company, marketing things in a strange way? I don't think so. So all I could feel were my doubts, and I could feel my fears, and I could feel my confusion, frankly, about it. I think if she had taken me in the future, and this was something she didn't know how to do, and neither did I at the time, and she said, Bob, what if this industry really was legitimate? And what if these products really were the best of the best? What if somebody that you really respected and admired would recommend this to you? Not me, your secretary. We were best friends with her, by the way. We loved her. She was just going through a financial challenge, and so that's why we hired her. But she still was someone who was close to me, but in terms of having a respected, national figure, I probably would have. If somebody had called me on the phone like that, I probably would have listened. So bottom line is, she had to get me to feel it. What it would be like to wake up in the morning and realize all your debts are paid, all your responsibilities are lessened. You don't have to go to work if you don't want to today. You don't have to go teach a seminar if you don't want to today. You don't have to do anything today if you don't want to. And your relationships are great. Your kids are taken care of. Future is bright. What would that be like? Well, this is your responsibility as a persuader or an influencer to, in the process, discover a way that works for you to get them to feel what it feels like. Not only feel it, what would it look like to really enjoy that lifestyle? What would be the relationships? What would you hear in that lifestyle? What would you sense? What would you experience? What would it be? What would really be like to experience that? And what I call that is feel the ideal. If you can get them to feel the ideal somehow. I'm not saying that it's easy to do this. I'm not saying that it's at first, when you have not done it often, there'll be some learning curve attached to it. But just the way you'd remember that is say, how could I get them to smell the roses, smell the life of their ideal lifestyle? How could I get them to taste it? How could I get them to feel what it feels like to wake up in a fantastic bed with the most amazing sheets, and to sit up and look out the window and look and see that and realize all of that came about as a result of following, using a vehicle that took them there. How can I get them to see, smell, taste, touch, and feel? Or just two of those. Visualization is one way people describe it. To visualize this out here. Well, a lot of people, believe it or not, can't visualize or don't think they can visualize because it's not clear like most other people talk about. Their visions are clear and they're so vibrant and their colors are bright and it's moving, and they look in their head and they go, well, boy, I don't think like that. I don't know what's the matter with me. How come I'm different? Well, we're all different. We all imagine differently. So if you can get out of the visualization part, which is a visual input, and add another piece to it, maybe something they would say to themselves, What would you say to yourself if you woke up in the morning 5 years from now, your life was set? How would that feel, number one? And number two, what would you say to yourself? What would be a phrase that you'd want to repeat to yourself? And many times they'll tell you. They'll say, oh, you did it. They'll give you some kind of a statement like that. Remember, what you just did is you took them out of their miserable life and you had them imagine a better life. And that's what leaders do. Leaders help people. They say, come, let's go to a better life. Come on, everybody. Follow along. That's where we're going. Want to go there? That's where we're going. And that's what leaders do. They create visions in people's minds that they believe, that they buy into. They get them to lift up outside of their limited life. And they get them to move forward into the future to a life of their dreams. Are you a leader? This is what it's going to take for you to, first of all, lead yourself. That's what I want. Lead a small group. Let's go, group. That's where we're going. And when you see a group of people who are walking up the hill together, climbing the mountain together, and as I travel all over RX, as a chief mindset officer, I get to see all the different kinds of teams from all the different major leaders in RX. And I get to see how those teams work. And there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of friendship. There's a lot of fun that's going on. And essentially what you're asking, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that person that's in a frowny face life. Let me show you what it's like when you really are with a team of people who are having fun all the way to the top. And sometimes people go, man, I don't care what product is you have. I can't even remember what the name of the company is. But you people, I want to be with you people, because whatever you're doing, it seems like something I want to be part of. And that's where the leadership comes in. This is a conversation about clarity. Now, if you go back in the goldmiind.com website, at the very bottom of the page, under archive, there'll be several other versions of this same conversation. I'll bring out different points and different thoughts and different things that pop into my head as I talk. But essentially, I'm going to teach this lesson you just heard over and over and over again until it becomes ingrained into you and to me. And as you teach it to somebody else, it becomes ingrained in you. And you start to believe that it's possible. As you get them to teach it to somebody else, it starts to be ingrained in them. So this is not something I want you to just learn. I want you to teach this as fast as you can to somebody else. And the faster you teach it, the more it sinks deep into you, so that you begin to believe, as Iris is saying, that you believe that the money is possible and that you can do it. And then if you get your team members to do this, have them sign their name and date it, because, hey, this is real. And now they've signed it. And now it's just sent another signal, even deeper, that there's a commitment attached to it. Now, I'm going to open up the lines for us to have a brief conversation. And the question I'm going to ask you, since we only have another 5 or 6 minutes to go, I want to have one or two of you share with me, what's the question that slows you down? What's the question that stops you? So I'm going to unmute everybody. If you have noise in your background, watch out for that. And somebody share with me, what's the one question that seems to always slow you down?
Oh, Bob, Ralph here. Can you hear me? I think for me, it's trying not to get overwhelmed with everything that I'm taking on, taking smaller steps, but do little things consistently.
And so do you feel overwhelmed?
Right now, I feel overwhelmed only because of the different income streams that I'm creating.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I like to see it as a challenge, and that makes it more interesting because you want to get over that challenge.
So the solution to your overwhelm is tomorrow morning, Frank, when you get up in the morning, I want you to write down 3 things you really, really, really want in your ideal lifestyle. And 3 things you're going to be very happy to eliminate from your ideal lifestyle. I want you to write those 3 down. Write down why those are really important to you and sign it. And what will happen, what's going to happen is your brain is going to start to focus in on those few things that you've written down. And all of the millions of things you could do, millions of options, are going to just slowly, fade a little further out. And your clarity is like having a flashlight on the pathway at nighttime. Clarity, this is what I want. This is the step I want to take. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go. And I think the overwhelm will slowly start to move away, and that would be my recommendation, Ralph.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody have another final question? Anybody else? What's a question that's just you'd love to ask? Have the answer to. So everybody's doing good? All right. So next week, we'll be on the call again. This time I'll be going into skill number 2, which is anticipation. What could arise to stop you? How are you going to go around it? What could arise to help you? How can you recognize it? Because challenges are going on constantly around you. And
welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the.
All right. So thank you all. This call will be recorded and uploaded in the next couple of hours to this website, to the Goldmiind website, and then you'll be able to see the conversation we just had. If you want to listen to it again, you're welcome to. If not, I'll see you again here next week, same time, same place. It is going to be a little different time frame for me because I'm going to be calling from Italy. So it's very possible that the call next week will be recorded. And therefore, if you it will be I'll put you a notification on the Goldmiind website. I'll tell you that it's being recorded. You don't show up live. Wait for the recorded version to show up, and then I'll put it there for you. Okay. Good night, everybody. God bless. We'll see ya. And I see Fury has left me a comment there. How you doing, Fury? My best to everybody. Good night. See you, Tom.